to look like Marina Mabrey has broken her silence finally about shoving Caitlin Clark.
I feel like you're trying to cut ass because now they're talking about investigations and now you're terrified. Now you're scared. Now you're shook.
Caitlin Clark gets hit with an elbow, takes a finger to the eye, and is eventually shoved hard enough to fall to the court. Meanwhile, Marina Mabrey remains in the matchup after receiving only a technical foul. Later that same day, the league discreetly reclassified the infraction as a flagrant 2. Now Mabrey has started speaking out, and the timing raises eyebrows, especially as conversations intensify following a recent The Wall Street Journal article questioning whether Clark is being treated unfairly around the league. This situation may be bigger than just one rough sequence on the court.
Now, after this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the 3 referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they are watching this play over and over.
Most viewers focused on the shove. That's the moment that went viral. But what led up to it actually began several minutes earlier in the June 17th matchup. During a scramble for the ball, J.C. Sheldon's hand swept across Caitlin Clark's face. Clark wasn't out of place or doing anything wild. She was competing for possession exactly where you'd expect her to be when Sheldon's fingers made contact with her eye.
Moment came in the third quarter after Fever guard Caitlin Clark was poked in the eye by Sun guard J.C. Sheldon while Sheldon was playing defense. This led to a brief scuffle between Clark and Sheldon. Actually, it led to J.C. just kept running up on. I watched the video again. I was like, why is she doing that? Clark is obviously trying to get some space away from her, and she made it worse, which prompted Connecticut veteran Marina Mabrey to come up and shove Clark to the ground. Is that what we're calling it? Because it wasn't a shove. It was, I'm going to drive my entire body into your body.
The initial reaction from the crowd wasn't outrage. It was that tense mix of gasps and low groans you hear when something looks potentially serious. Officials were right on the play, and crew chief Ashley Gloss later explained their split-second judgment before the sequence was fully reviewed. When replay was checked, J.C. Sheldon's foul was ultimately upgraded to a flagrant, but that decision came after the fact. In the moment, the game continued, sending a clear signal that the infraction wasn't deemed severe enough to stop play immediately, even as fans courtside were already leaning in, anticipating the impact.
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and J.C. Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabrey comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
The crowd murmured, still processing what they had just witnessed. On the broadcast, frame by frame, the story unfolded. Caitlin Clark's head jerks slightly from the impact. She steps back and then straightens up. No theatrics. No rolling on the floor. No exaggerated reaction. Just that calm, focused stare she wears when she's refocusing. That composure is part of her charm. She let the referees handle the situation, or at least trusted that they would. The issue arises in.
And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, J.C. Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
And when a player of her stature doesn't receive immediate protection, the game's intensity shifts quickly. That unspoken, the next one's going to be harder. Energy begins to creep in. You see it across all sports. When officials miss or delay addressing a dangerous foul, someone else on the court eventually takes matters into their own hands. By the time J.C. Sheldon's flagrant one was officially recorded, the real impact wasn't reflected on the scoreboard. It was in how both benches now recognized that the usual physical limits might be more flexible. Indiana Fever kept glancing toward the officials after each whistle, and every possession carried an extra edge. That eye poke lingered in everyone's mind, making it feel like the next major collision was inevitable.
Another look as we try to figure out what exactly went down. So you see her get hit in the face. JC Sheldon doesn't like that, and everybody on the team doesn't like it. Marina, trying to have her teammates back, pushes her down. You see a little bit of drama all the way around. Tina, Charles, Clark, and Mabrey, they received technical fouls.
And that's exactly how it unfolded. The shove that took over social media didn't happen out of nowhere. It came after several minutes of simmering tension that the earlier missed call had allowed to build. So why, even with the flagrant already on the books, did the situation still escalate? And what made Marina Mabrey feel the need to intervene? Mabrey's response was immediate, and she's sticking to one explanation. She was protecting her teammate. That's her main defense. But when you slow down the footage, her claim doesn't fully align with what actually played out on the court.
Mabrey concluded. So at the end of the day, it was a play on the ball when she did it, and I probably overreacted a little, but my teammate is getting hit, and I'm not okay with that. It wasn't like I hate her. Here I do. I don't do stuff like that. Everybody knows that I've never done that before. It's fascinating to hear Mabrey reflecting on a moment that vilified her to a huge portion of WNBA fan base. Yeah. Marina Mabrey, that was dirty. Let's just be clear here. That was dirty. You know it was dirty. You know what you did was dirty, Marina Mabrey.
After the eye poke, Caitlin Clark gave JC Sheldon a quick shove during a dead ball, more of a frustrated knock it off than anything intended to cause real harm. Sheldon barely moved, staying upright and steady, with no risk of falling or being hit again. Within seconds, Marina Mabrey stepped in, not to separate them or guide her teammate away, but to lower her shoulder and deliver a full-body shove that sent Clark crashing hard onto the hardwood.
This not only incited several technical fouls, but it prompted Fever enforcer Sophie Cunningham to essentially start a brawl by grabbing and throwing Sheldon down to the ground 1 quarter later. Mabrey gets honest. 2 days after the shove, heard around the women's basketball world, Mabrey was heard saying, quote, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't," when addressing a commentator on the Instagram live stream who called her out for shoving Clark.
This wasn't contact during a possession or a battle for a loose ball. It occurred after the initial scuffle, in that brief window when cooler heads typically intervene. That context is crucial because it frames the shove less as a reflexive defense and more as a deliberate decision to escalate the situation. Caitlin Clark wasn't flopping. She paused, blinked a few times, got back on her feet, and continued playing. She didn't deserve what happened. After the eye poke, Caitlin Clark got shoved hard to the floor by Marina Mabrey, a hit far harsher than Clark's brief shove to JC Sheldon. The incident wasn't during gameplay, but in a dead ball moment, making Mabrey's action feel like a deliberate escalation. Fans and officials saw the imbalance immediately, but initial in-game responses were limited to technicals, with the flagrant upgrade coming only later. The delayed enforcement fueled tension, leading to further fouls and ejections, including Sophie Cunningham's retaliatory flagrant 2. Mabrey later claimed she overreacted and was protecting a teammate, but video suggested intentional contact. This sequence sparked debate about league protection for Clark, highlighting concerns over inconsistent officiating. Despite all that, Clark and the Fever stayed composed and secured the win, while questions remain about Mabrey's sudden post-game commentary.